On this episode of Me Search, we have Herstasis scientist Jenna Dunlop, who will be breaking down the latest in the new HRT research. Thanks for listening. Jenna, how are you? How's your heavy vaginal bleeding?
Oh, it's non-existent. Thank you very much for asking.
Well, lucky for you.
I prepaid on that one because I suffered for a long time when I, turns out, didn't have to. But whatever. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. How's your mental health doing? now that I've invented the image of a clot dropping, it's like, so how are those invisible symptoms?
Invisible symptoms? You mean like sobbing naked in the dark? Those ones?
Yep.
I always have to think about that question. It's like such a day-to-day thing in a way, and I'm working so hard to manage it that it's hard to see the trajectory. You know, sometimes when you're really in it, you're like, I'm never coming out. This is the end.
I mean, and the thing is, when you have, and I'm not telling you what you have, I'm just thinking to myself, because of course, it's not like you only get one symptom.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right? It's like, we're going to randomly throw stuff at you.
Yeah, right. I want to talk to you about something because you've been doing some work for Herstasis that is very, I don't know, it's really exciting. It's very, very interesting. And this, one of those things is updates on HRT. What's going on? There's just been this flurry of science come out, core science, like fundamental science, and review science that goes and looks at all of them and goes, we've got some patterns occurring here. So what's happening?
Well, it's so fascinating. You know, we obviously are rangy when we talk. And so we'll get back to how we started working together and the vision that you had and continue to have, and how I'm, was so excited to be part of bringing that to life. So we will come back to that because I think it's really important to talk about that piece. But if we're just talking HRT, right? Honestly, I did not, my doctors, by the way, is young, female, fresh out of university.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh my God, this is great. Like, I've got somebody who's intuitively in line with me because, you know the benefits and costs of being female, but also you got all the updated information. And you know what, JT, nobody ever said, you might be menopausal or perimenopausal. Maybe we should look at HRT, because I was having the hot flashes.
Yeah.
Like you, massive blowouts and breakdowns that take, they're awful, and the damage you can do while you're in them is awful to yourself and other people. But the recovery from these, when you have them, and I would be in sobbing away to my doctor. No, nobody ever offered it to me. So I kind of missed the HRT boat.
Yeah.
Right? Completely. It never came up for me. And so
it was a bad thing. And it was a bad thing. Right?
Well, I mean,
for me, the guy said, well, you could try it, but it doesn't have a great reputation. So there was also that going on at the same time that you're getting, right? So,
and so I had a bit of that where it was like, I never fought for it because, cancer runs in my family. Not that I actually knew the details. I just knew HRT and cancer went together.
Right.
And I didn't know how, why, when. So when I started doing the work with you and I read that initial paper that basically changed the trajectory of women's health, at least for midlife women, that's the WHI Women's Health Initiative.
Right.
Paper.
Was that the 2002 study? The
2002
famous one?
Study.
Yeah.
So the study came out, and the study, now I've done a whole bunch of the history on it. And that's one of the reasons there's this big blow up in current research, is because this study came out. It was not publicized what it was looking for. It was not publicized who they were performing this study on, who they were looking at. The only thing that got publicized was the study had to stop because the cancer incident, breast cancer particularly, went up to a point where they couldn't ethically continue this. Those were the headlines.
So that was it. That was the bullet point heading that got published, right? And this is a big study though, right? This was a lot of women in this study. It was like 60,000.
That was, yeah, like thousands.
It's all American women? It was just American women?
I think so. I think so. Yeah. And the thing is, it was this, the Women's Health Initiative, it wasn't a single study. It's like a huge cohort of women that get used. Their data is collated and used for a whole bunch of different things. So anyway, we'll put that there.
Okay.
And so what the result of that was, prescriptions for HRT dropped by like 65%. This study singularly stopped the prescription of one of the very few helpful medical.
Like there's a good conspiracy theory in there somewhere.
Well, it doesn't count with women, right? So it doesn't really count. It's just like, don't do that.
Oh, well, no, it does count. Okay, wait, here's the thing. I know, of course it counts. I think I saw a graph saying that the incidence of dementia and osteoporosis and maybe cardiovascular disease, have the data from them shows that the incidences of those went way up right after we stopped using HRT with women. So there's actually proof in that data set that it works.
Yeah. Well, I consider myself to be an amateur sleuth, right? I write, she says, write mystery novels in my spare time. I really love like digging in and being my Nancy Drew self, because I grew up with the Bobbsey twins, right? And the Nancy Drew.
Already here. I have like her entire set.
Trixie Bell too?
No.
Okay. Yeah. My sister sent me a Trixie, but anyway, whatever. This is where we run into trouble talking. The point is, I was like, this can't be right. This the Women's Health Initiative study, that can't be right. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't taste right. And so I started to dig. And the first thing that jumped out is that the study was based on however many thousands of women, but certainly a very satisfying number in terms of scientific credibility and the ability to run stats and stuff. But these women, the median age was, the ages of the women, I think, were like 55 to 70 that were in there, but the median age was well past the age that you would be using HRT at the time.
Like starting using it. Not having continued it, but actually.
Well, and even, back in those days, you had 10 years and then they pull you off, right? Oh. Like that was what they knew at the time.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
You should be on it. So if you started at 55, you're out at 65 kind of thing. Okay. So the study was performed on women who were not actually the candidates for hormone therapy. And the reason they were performing this study was because observationally, right, doctors had noticed and researchers had noticed that women on HRT seemed to get all of these health benefits, right?
Cardiovascular. Anecdotal. It was anecdotal.
So the WHI study was run to confirm these positive outcomes.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So the study had nothing to do with does HRT work. It had to do with it had to do with proving, or at least increasing the support for the theory that HRT is protective. It's going to help your heart. It's going to do all sorts of good things for you. And so the study in and of itself is a good study. It's just the outcomes from it are taken completely out of context because the women, what they were looking for Like they didn't study anything to do with the hormones. They just studied different types of risks. So all mortality and cardiovascular and a number of different cancers. And so basically that study stopped everyone from using HRT, prescribing it, and the people who were on it were scared.
Yeah.
Like you, Jennifer. It's like, if I don't have this medication, then I'm ugly crying in CEO meetings, which is also not acceptable, right? So women are given this choice of, you know, why don't you increase your risk of breast cancer?
Yeah, chances of ugly crying are 100% today.
Yes, exactly. It's like the more serious and professional you need to be, the more likely you are to have some symptoms show up that will make you look like a goon. Anyway, I know that this sounds rangy, but it actually makes sense. I connected with a group of researchers in Toronto that I feel are really, really good. That they have the same values that we have, that Herstasis has, and they're
like evidence-based,
evidence-based, scientific, and they don't believe in bioidentical. I mean, they know it's there, but they don't. Just stuff that is aligned with proper healthcare for women. They had they put something on LinkedIn. And I actually had to complain because their statement was, menopause is the new trend. No, it's something like it's the flavor of the day, or it's I have such a bad memory, so we're really working on this. And I just wrote back saying, menopause and perimenopause are a natural part of a woman's aging process.
Right.
This has been going on since we evolved into humans. It is not a trend. It is a fad. That's what they call it.
A fad. Oh, menopause is such a... I wish menopause was a fad. I want a t-shirt that says, make menopause a fad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that will go away quickly.
Oh my God. Or birds aren't real. If we just pretend that this, I don't know if you know that.
No, I don't.
We'll talk about that later. There's a whole group, conspiracy theorists, that believe that birds aren't real. So you can get one of those t-shirts. They're tracking devices.
There is so much good stuff out there. I miss it all.
I know.
Miss it. I deleted all my social, hey?
Oh, okay. I
can't take it anymore. Okay, anyways. So listen.
Okay.
I just want to finish that because that conversation was great. What's happening now?
So the fad.
Yeah. No, not the fad part.
No. But I complained and I said, this is just happening. It's not a fad. It's just, for the first time, women have enough of a voice and enough power that our needs are actually being heard. Women are not just suffering in silence. And even though I got really spicy about the way that they had termed it, it's true. We have seen this incredible rise in the media coverage, in open dialogue, in availability of resources. Not as good as Herstasis, of course, but and that has driven a whole new branch of science, which is basically saying, we can't leave the HRT studies. We can't stop just because of the 2002.
Because of that.
And
so much for science now.
And nobody's ever done more. The NAMS, the North American Menopause Society, they've put out some fabulous, state of the union guidelines on HRT, where they continue to hammer home, it's not going to give you cancer. But nobody listens, right? So suddenly, this new drive and interest, this fad of menopause, has really reignited research. And if I want to be cynical, I'll say it's because pharmaceutical companies are realizing that women need help and there's money to be made. But whatever, that's me being cynical.
take my money.
Well, exactly.
Could she honestly take my money? Because actually, all you're stuck with after that, I was looking at our Google search this morning. I'm addicted to our stats. The other 4 organizations that are buying the same the same search terms as us on Google search every one of them has a supplement line, a line of supplements. Every one of them. And I'm like, come on, why?
Did you see Jen Gunter's article?
Oh my gosh, Jen Gunter, Dr. Jen.
Dr. Jen.
Her husband calls himself Dr. Jen adjacent.
That's awesome.
They love. She's. I got nothing but good things to say about her.
No, but she put out. You know that she did a test, right, with her own line of supplements.
Oh my gosh, I read that. Her turmeric, black pepper, fake supplement. How much she could make.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't have to be a doctor anymore. This is what I got to do.
Well, so here we're fighting on the fronts. Women are suffering and they need help.
Yeah.
They don't trust the system.
Yeah.
Why would they? And so shysters are getting their chance. But anyway, back to HRT. The new research that has been generated as a result of this, new-ish interest in menopause and perimenopause, it has come up with these crazy positive findings. So they're one of the things, for instance, in that WHI study, they tested 1 dose and 1 route of administering HRT. But
so as you mean like a route, meaning like pill or patch?
Yeah, you take it,
whatever, right?
You swallow it, or you put a patch on, or you...
Yeah. So they only tested 1 of those, basically.
They only tested 1, and they only had 1 standard dosage
for everyone. Okay.
Right? So, and that's because they weren't looking at HRT. They were looking at cardiovascular, right? So they weren't testing different types of HRT against each other.
So they're just trying to figure out if estrogen and progesterone could act together to do this.
Yeah. And it just wasn't developed enough as a scientific idea.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah.
To take, but it is now.
It is now.
So the research where they're testing different types and different dosages and different additions of progestin, as in progesterone, or not necessarily dependent on whether or not you have a uterus. I mean, if you have a uterus, you need progesterone.
Yeah, you need progesterone.
But they're also testing, what does progesterone do if you don't have a uterus? Does it make a difference? Does it not? Kind of thing. So basically, they're looking at all of the scenarios and they're making all these different combinations and they're testing them individually and comparing what happens. And you know what happens? All sorts of different things.
No doubt.
Right? I mean, you would think, that HRT is estrogen and a progesterone. But there are different types of estrogens. There are different types of progestins. And then different doses. So there are some of these,
and like different routes of administration
and different routes. And so it has come up and this is totally blanket information. I'm a PhD. I'm not a medical doctor, and so I'm not prescribing. But if you're listening to this, trying to get information, and your doctor is saying, oh, you should try this, you should know that the research is showing that gels and creams, especially those that are used vaginally, so you insert a vaginal cream, appear to have the highest positive outcomes for some conditions. None of this is blanket, right? None of this.
Is that just for vaginal atrophy symptoms, or could that?
No, this is for
motor symptoms like hot flashes. Oh, really?
Taking your HRT through a vaginal supplement.
Wow.
Or a vaginal
benefit of rebuilding cells in that area as well, right?
So you said it was 2013, 2016 that you started, that you were prescribed HRT in the first place.
Yeah.
No, right?
No. That was no, I had breakdown after breakdown, and then I got SSRI first.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So you have SSRI.
Then I finally, okay, this is like, okay, here's healthcare. All right. In a nutshell, I know a friend, and that person knows a friend, and they're an endocrinologist. And I'm like, oh, hey, we were met at a party last week. I'm hooked up. So, but I actually sort of am. So I'm able to phone and go, what do you think about this? Person goes, you need to go and look at HRT. Like, what are you doing? So hooks me up with someone else. We start talking about it. My doctor provides the, request from this and another endocrinologist. Anyways, it made that work for me. But think about that.
But if you don't happen to have an endocrinologist to party with
at a party, who likes you and takes you under their wing and directs you through the system,
for me, the questions always come down to support. So we're extremely privileged white women living in a developed country. And so, okay, you can quibble every once in a while about things aren't perfect, right? Sidebar, when I blew out my knee a few years ago, and I finally, after a year, got a consult with a surgeon, and I went in and I asked him, so what do I have to do to get on the fast list? Because a bunch of people that had also hurt their knees and needed an ACL were... they'd already had their surgeries, right? And I was like, what do I have to do to get on that list? And he's like, listen, you're a slightly overweight, moderately active, middle-aged woman. You're just not going to be on the priority list.
Delivered matter-of-factly as that.
Surgeon said that to me. Slightly overweight, moderately active, middle-aged woman. And
you're at the... Oh my God. How did that make you feel? Like physically, where did you feel that? Or is that something?
I went from being this size and shape with with this ridiculous brace on my knee.
Yeah.
To being about an inch tall with red flames of shame shooting out of my head, because what was I doing being middle-aged and being a woman? And so the point is that has nothing to do with necessarily with the symptoms that we're talking about, but it is such a pervasive attitude that women don't count, middle-aged women don't count.
Yeah.
And then when you get into, you're slightly overweight or you're not an Olympic athlete or whatever, then, you're down there in the dust. with the dust mites waiting for service. So I'm like, okay, I always have this view of we're sitting at the top, right? We are getting the best out of women, out of healthcare compared to the vast majority of women around the planet.
Yeah.
And we are not entitled. We are not worthy enough to actually get what we need. And this, of course, ties into the question I want to ask, which is when you finally got the prescription for HRT, somebody must have handed it to you, right? I'm presuming you went to your doctor. What information did you get? Like what were you, did you have questions? Was your doctor able to answer them? Like, I know you must have gone in with a list, right?
Do you know how big the binder was? It was big. It was very big. That's what got Herstasis started. Here's what happened, and I was totally astonished. The person, the medical provider said, how much of it do you want to be on? Like, what dosage do you want? Huh? How am I going to know that? I'm like, how about enough that it doesn't kill me or cause cancer? but solves my problem. Like, what is even the volume of it? I don't know anything about it, right? And I don't know whether it apparently comes in patches and pills and creams and oh my God.
There's vaginal inserts.
Oh my God. It comes in all these different ways, right? And it looks like from New Science, actually, that that they're looking at different ones for being more effective than other ones in different places for different symptoms, right? But anyways, I think I had to just experiment with this doctor and put this patch on my gut and little tummy and then take this pill and, I don't know, see what happens.
The best. That's really what we want when we've got like crippling symptoms, is to be like, yeah, let's see what happens.
But the thing is, I want to see what happens based on medical supervision. I went from like this sort of standard dose, and now I'm at half of the standard dose of the estrogen as I get older, at 50 micrograms, down from 100. It's great when you can get it, although I know it's unreliable. So now I would really like to find something that's easier and more reliable. So anyway, I'm not in a huge hurry to change all this stuff up. I'm going through some really difficult personal family issues right now, and I mean, that's just sending me for a gigantic, unexpected loop, and I'm just trying to maintain my, I don't know.
Well, you know, stability and consistency are two things that I feel women who are experiencing perimenopause symptoms, they don't get. Like, you know, at the very beginning when we were talking, you were saying like, it's day to day. Right? My symptoms change day to day. Things go up, things go down. And,
oh, wait, sorry. Can I just interrupt you for a second?
Of course.
So lay over top of that, you're dealing with children and they all have their own individual needs. And then you're dealing possibly with a spouse. You have aging parents that you're potentially trying to look after. You may have a child with disabilities. You may have disabilities. By the time, so from 35 to 50, just a sheer weight of the universe on you, and menopause transition symptoms, you know, no wonder women think about taking their lives, frankly. I mean, I would never encourage that, obviously, but I think it crosses your mind sometimes to go, it's just too much.
This is too much.
Yeah, it's
and the burden of showing up outside of your house, you know, whatever that looks like. You know, maybe you volunteer somewhere. Maybe you have a career that you need to go in and deal with people every day. Maybe you have, you know, a life.
Oops. That's my dog barking. That is legit my 10-minute warning. No, my 5-minute warning. I got to take the dog to the vet. Okay. All right. Last like 30 seconds. I seriously have to go. That's so funny. What are you working on with HRT for us, but also other things? What are your top priorities right now for Herstasis?
Oh my God. I mean, priorities, so many. This whole HRT issue needs thoughtful and careful unpacking.
Yes.
And because we provide, at Herstasis, we provide science-based, evidence-based, peer-reviewed paper, blah, blah. So it's credible information to women. That is what we do. And HRT is such a huge thing. We need to be able to find a way to communicate this new complexity to the women that we help, to the women that come to us for help.
Yep.
So really, that's what I'm doing. That's my primary focus.
Okay. Right now. Yeah.
Right now.
Okay.
But at the same time, everything that we do on Herstasis is science-based. So we have to go through and constantly update.
That's a big job. How many papers do we have now in our library?
I'm going to say around 600.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's super cool. I'm really glad we have that resource. That's amazing. Okay, listen. Oh, I got to go.
It's all right. My 10-minute warning is here.
Your 10-minute warning?
You may see 10-minute warning signs all around.
Okay, sweetie. So we'll talk soon. Thank you so much. This is awesome.
Oh, this is so awesome.
Thank you.
And you're gone. Oh my God, my screen came back. Bye, guys.